Good afternoon, everybody, and we've got one more position group to go through here. Just one more collection of players to talk about from the Combine. Yesterday, we saw the running backs get a chance to do on-the-field work, and we definitely learned some stuff. We learned some very interesting stuff. The Seahawks have a little bit of a need in their backfield, so this is definitely worth discussing for at least a little bit here. So I'm going to highlight some things that stood out to me watching the Combine, looking at some of the data that came out of the Combine. I'm just going to go through some stuff that speaks to me as a Seahawks fan in regards to what I'm looking for and what I'm hoping for this offseason. So let's go ahead and jump in. Obviously, these players, we haven't gotten their bench press numbers yet. We're going to see that later today. If I feel like there's anything particularly interesting from that data, I'll talk about it in a video tomorrow. But with the data that we have, here are a collection of players that I think stood out positively, and then we're going to do a collection of players that I think stood out a little more negatively. So we're going to start with one of the stars of the day. Pretty much everybody who talks about the Combine is talking about this guy right here. It's Chase Brown of Illinois. He had a nice Combine. He was one of the more athletic running backs on display, and he did good things for his draft stock. So the guy is relatively short, but he's pretty stout. 210 pounds. That's not bad. That tells me, I don't know if he's a power back, but he's not a finesse back either at 210. So, Chase Brown, I think we all know that with Ken Walker in tow, we're looking for a short yardage back, a guy who can go get the 3rd and 2, a guy who can pick up 4th and 1. So, when I'm trying to evaluate running backs here, that's one of the things I'm looking for here. And while Chase Brown may end up being a receiving back in this league, and by the way, he did do well in terms of his pass catching during the pass catching drills, I see a little bit of potential for power here with the 210-pound frame. So I like that. His testing numbers were really good. 4.43 time was one of the better times of the day. It was 5th, actually. His 10-yard split was fine. Pretty much everyone's 10-yard split was around this area, I think I found, except for some of the extreme divergences. 1.53. Almost everybody I looked at was like 1.52, 1.53, or 1.54. But his jumps were great. This indicates a very explosive athlete. 40 inches on his vert, 10 feet 7 inches on his broad jump. So Chase Brown did good things for his draft stock here. Good on the field. He was good cutting. There's some very interesting stuff here with this particular running back. This next guy, I'm not saying I'm personally that interested in him, but I do want to talk about him because he did well. And if you're looking for a running back the Seahawks could feasibly spend a somewhat high pick on, I think this is the guy. Bijan is going to be gone. Unless you want to take Bijan at 5, and I think very few people are going to want to take Bijan at 5, he's going to be gone. Jamir Gibbs is the best running back in this draft that you could get at 20. Maybe he'll be there at 37. I don't know. But I want to talk about him because he did do well. The thing with Jamir Gibbs is that he's more of a small speedster, catch out of the backfield back. Don't really need that badly right now. 5'9", not even 200 pounds. So I don't think that's the kind of running back that we need. But I do want to briefly touch on what he was able to do yesterday. Ran a real good 40, 4.36. Dude is a speedster. 10-yard split was perfectly fine. Vertical jump, forgettable, 33.5 inches. But the point is, he proved that he can fly. That was the main thing that he was able to prove with this combine, and that was the main value that he's going to provide in the NFL, I think. And he moves well. It's not just straight line speed. He does move well in the running back drills. Great pass catcher. So, Jamir Gibbs, I'm not saying we should personally be interested, but objectively speaking, I think he's the running back that is most desirable of the ones the Seahawks can get. Now, I want to turn focus to a certain kind of running back here. I'm talking about power backs because I think it's very clear that's what we need on this team. We have K9. K9 is a great speed back, an explosive back, a guy who can bust big plays. But we need the guy who can convert 3rd and 2, 4th and 1, like I said. So let's take a look at some bigger guys here, starting with Roshan Johnson. He was one of my favorites before the combine, and he had a good enough combine. First of all, he's got the size. He's almost 220 pounds, 6 feet tall, so he's got basically power back size, no problems there. And his combine results were good enough. His 40-yard dash, look, it's Chris Carson tier. Don't get me wrong. 4.58 is Chris Carson tier. But I think he's big enough to where that 40-yard dash is adequate. And here's the thing, his 10-yard split was just as good as Jamir Gibbs's. They both had the exact same 10-yard split. So that means that Roshan Johnson, while he's not fast, is quick. He can accelerate really fast. So, to me, that's the value of a Roshan Johnson. Now, his vertical jump was not very good. 31.5 inches was weak. But his broad jump, pretty good. 10 feet, 2 inches. I can live with that. Guy's a good athlete for someone of this size, and I would love to bring him on as a power back. All right, now we got one more guy that I liked from this combine. It's Evan Hull. This is another guy who's been getting praised a lot across the internet. His size is borderline power back type stuff, but he's powerfully built. If you look at him, he looks like a power back, even though he's a little bit smaller than you would typically expect from one. 5'10", 209 pounds. That's not exactly what you would say is a power back, but I do think that if you look at the way he plays and you look at the way he's built, it makes some sense here. And his testing results were good. 4.47 40-yard dash. He had a good 10-yard split, kind of the same 10-yard split most of these guys had. Vertical jump, 37 inches, explosive. Broad jump, 10 feet 3 inches. He was one of 2 running backs, by the way, who actually did the 3-cone and 20-yard shuttle. So take of that what you will. He was literally in first place of 2 running backs, so whatever, but Evan Hull, I don't know if he's exactly what we need, but this is kind of like right on that line. And he tested well, and he ran well. He ran explosively. He ran with great effort. He was somebody who liked to finish every play. He would just sprint to the end zone even after the play was done and the drill was over. So Evan Hull, could he be a power back at the NFL level? It's close, but I liked what I saw from him at the combine either way. Okay, so now we got to take some time to talk about some of the guys that I think didn't do so well, that have kind of turned me off of them a little bit. First guy is going to be Kenny McIntosh from Georgia, a Bulldog, a guy who's gotten minimal work in the Georgia backfield because there's always elite running backs in front of him. Of course, that's how it works in Georgia. The size, it's not great. 6 feet tall, but 204 pounds, so he's actually kind of lanky for a running back, you could almost say, based on purely the height to weight ratio. And given the fact that he's a little light, 204 pounds, I don't think the 4.62 40-yard dash is going to cut it. So I'm not seeing the explosiveness. I mean, the 10-yard split's okay, but I'm not seeing the burst in the open field. I'm not seeing much of anything here to be excited about as a player. Like, the 4.62 40 time is okay if you weigh like 220 pounds maybe, but to be 204 pounds, 204, and only being able to do this 40-yard dash, not into it. So Kenny McIntosh was a guy that some Seahawks fans were intrigued by as a potential running back partner to K9. Based off this combine, I'm not really feeling it. Athletic score, not particularly impressive. He didn't do a lot of the drills, by the way, but the little bit that we saw, even from the on-the-field work, no. Okay, 2 more guys that kind of let me down a little bit yesterday. We got Tank Bigsby, an Auburn running back. This was another guy who I thought, hey, maybe this could be the power back. And in fairness, maybe he could still be that. 6 feet tall, 210 pounds, that's okay. That's at least somewhat intriguing. 210 pounds is kind of on that line. But you look at the athletic numbers, you've got 4.5640, which, I mean, to give you guys some comparison, the Chase Brown is about the same weight as Tank Bigsby. And Chase Brown's 40 time was 0.13 seconds faster than Tank Bigsby. So not great. We're not off to a very good start here, are we? And the 10-yard split is okay, nothing special. It's kind of, again, it kind of blends in with all the others. But here's the real problem. His vertical jump is low, 32 and a half. Broad jump, not even 10 feet. So that tells me he's not very explosive. So putting it all together, Tank Bigsby, even though he's got a great first name for it, I don't know if I see him being the right kind of back that we need right now, and I don't know if I see him being much of a back in general. So a little bit down on him right now. Final guy I want to dive into here, a little bit of a sleeper anyway, but Tavion Thomas of Utah. He was very productive in college football, by the way. This guy played a good amount. And he was bringing some very interesting credentials to the table here. He's probably the biggest back in this combine, in this draft class. 6 feet tall, 237 pounds. That is some, it's not quite Lendell White maybe, but it's heavy. He's 20 pounds heavier than Roshan Johnson. He's significantly girthier than any running back we've looked at in this video before. And that's exciting, right? Because, like, hey, that could be your power back, but 4.74, even for a guy of this weight, you got to at least get down to like 4.7 flat. Honestly, probably somewhere around 4.68. And I don't want to split hairs over a tiny difference in the 40-yard dash, but this is just a little too slow even for a guy of this weight, I think. His 10-yard split was not very good either, 1.62, so acceleration and quickness is questionable. And, I mean, it's not surprising that his vertical and broad jump are low. Vertical jump, 30 inches. Broad jump, 9 feet, 10 inches. Like, that's low. That's not exactly surprising. I'm not really concerned about that, but just, nah. The on-the-field work didn't seem too great either. So, yeah, Tavion Thomas, not that he was somebody who was going to get drafted highly anyway, but needed a little bit more gas. And that's what I thought about the running backs at the Combine. Let me know what you all think. Peace out. Go Hawks.